The day's news here because West Midlands MEP Nikki Sinclaire has said she's disturbed that energy drinks are being given to children after a Herefordshire youth group was forced to close early when members became aggressive after consuming large amounts. Ledbury Youth Group had sent children home early last week when they became abusive and started using bad language when they drank large amounts of a caffeine-based drink in a short period of time. Now, research for the European Food Safety Agency suggests more than two-thirds of the UK's 10 to 18-year-olds have consumed high caffeine energy drinks. These parents at primary school, we asked them if they'd given their children's, or if they would give their children energy drinks.
No, I wouldn't give my children energy drinks, even though they do a lot of sport, because it gives a sugar rush and it's a pretty bad idea, unless you want a hyperactive child.
In general, fine, but I wouldn't let my children have an energy drink because I just don't think they need anything to make them more hyperactive than they probably are already. They have taurine in and things like that, and I think they can affect their behaviour. And I know that caffeine's not good, and caffeine's normally in them as well, and I wouldn't give my children a cup of coffee, so I definitely wouldn't give them an energy drink.
I wouldn't buy an energy drink for children, full stop. Doesn't do good things to adults. What's it going to do to children?
Well, MEP Nikki Sinclaire can talk to me now. Hello there.
Good afternoon.
Hello. So you're disturbed about this?
Yeah, I am disturbed because this is a manipulating the energy levels of a child, and I think that's quite a dangerous thing to do because we don't know what the long-term aspects of that could be. Well,
you heard the parents there saying, giving their responses, but what can you do about it? Or what would you propose?
Well, first of all, I'm not interested in legislation. I think parents should be able to bring up their children the way they see fit. But I think this is about education on two levels. Education of the children in schools about the aspect of what they actually put into their bodies. And I think people in this country in particular, I don't think we really understand what food is about, that food is fuel for your body. And sometimes I think that we actually, think more about our cars and the fuel we put in our cars than what we do about our bodies.
But I appreciate that you don't want to go down the legislation route, understandably, but there's clearly issues because they have health warnings anyway.
Yes, there are. But I think we need to educate the children in schools about what they eat. We need to educate parents via public advertising, via magazine advertising, because they need to understand what they're giving their children. We heard that some of those parents there, they wouldn't give their children these drinks, and I'm glad to hear that. But obviously children are drinking these things. I think about the marketing, about sports marketing, sports stars, footballers drinking these energy drinks, and they are actually positively saying to children, look, you can be a great footballer if you drink this energy drink.
But Nikki,
I think that has to stop.
But the point is, though, that kids can go home on the way home from school and buy these things. If you put them out of reach, perhaps maybe they wouldn't be able to buy them.
Quite possibly, but if you've got an adverts with Wayne Rooney and Steven Gerrard and all of those drinking these and saying you can be a great footballer like me if and I drink this drink, I think that's an element. I think it is about advertising. I don't think these products should be aimed at children. I think they are, and I think that we should advertise, public advertising. The government should, to say actually how harmful these products are.
I mean, I understand, and a lot of people understand about you saying, well, it's up to education, it's up to the parents to educate their children. But the point is, if you're a parent in the modern world, it's just another thing to have to worry about. I mean, it's bad enough trying to work out what your kid's doing on its mobile phone without having to worry about this kind of thing. I mean, I understand the education side of it, but couldn't it go hand in hand with some kind of legislation?
I mean, I'd be very reticent about legislation, but I think, it is difficult to be a parent in these days with all the modern pressures. But I think, as I say, goes back to, I think we as a country generally need to learn more about the food stuff, not just energy drinks, all different types of food stuff, what we put in our body, because it is essential. And I think it has far more effects on our daily lives than we understand.
Well, that's quite fascinating you say that, because if you look at certain caffeine supplements in tablet form, for example, I mean, that's sold as a kind of a medicine. That's not sold as some kind of pleasurable thing to drink. So maybe actually these are being sold in the wrong kind of way.
Quite perhaps, and I think when it's sold in kind of a medicinal type of way, I think then it should be subject to those rules. But where these drinks and the effects it has on children, I think it goes back to advertising, and I think that the type of advertising is out there at the moment is in its negative form and has negative effects. I think if we put more educational advertising on this, I think we would go to start addressing the problem.
But you're suggesting really that government advertising to counter the glamorous advertising on the television. That's what you're basically saying.
Well, if there is any legislation, it's probably to ban this type of advertising marketed at children. I think one I'd like to see the government look at any type of advertising aimed at children for whatever product, because I think that's an area that really needs to be looked at in this country. It does deeply disturb me what is being marketed to our children.
Just also finally, Nikki, before we finish about this, because what would take it to become a legislative procedure? One death? I mean, that's potential, isn't it? We have had stuff like that, haven't we? We have had deaths because people take these. Sometimes people take these with a combination of other things.
Yeah, I think we've had. I've just come back from Strasbourg as well. I've heard there's a death in Darlaston in the north of the region.
Yeah, I think that's not to do with drinks, though. I think that's to do with mints that are quite highly powered, but still very similar. I understand.
But exactly, there's a caffeine type of thing. It goes to this thing about what we're putting in our bodies, and we don't understand. And yes, I mean, hopefully we do. There shouldn't be deaths to legislate. I mean, people should look at what's necessary. I don't want to be telling parents how to bring up their children. I think that's for parents. But I think government has a responsibility of what is being marketed to children. I think I would call on the government to have a look at that.
Okay, MEP Nikki Sinclaire, I appreciate